Congressman Bart Stupak of Michigan and C Street fame is now all but conceding that his plan to hijack health reform to turn it into an unprecedented new abortion ban has pretty much failed. Congressman Stupak did not manage to get his new restrictions on abortion into the final version of the health reform bill, and his threat to kill the bill if he wasn't allowed to do that appears to have fallen apart as well. That said, Congressman Stupak's anti-abortion stunt was successful on one level today. It was successful in the sense that it got Mr. Stupak on TV again, but not, sadly, to name the 12 supposed friends of his in Congress who he says believe his debunked claim that the Senate bill somehow funds abortions, which it doesn't, and who I guess we're supposed to believe will dramatically make themselves known someday. Right now, the only evidence we have of the existence of Mr. Stupak's 12 possibly imaginary friends in Congress is the fact that he says he carries around their names in his pocket. But again, the names in his pocket are secret. Meanwhile, two other politicians who have helped make C Street and the family, the secret religious group behind C Street, famous, were all over the news today. Investigative reporters from KLAS, a local TV station in John Enson's hometown of Las Vegas, are credited with breaking news that an FBI agent and a Department of Justice prosecutor came to Vegas to interview business and political leaders with ties to Senator Enson and to hand out grand jury subpoenas, seeking not only testimony but documents and other records that are to be turned over by the end of this month. Senator Enson, you might recall, admitted in June to an affair with Cindy Hampton, a campaign staffer of his who just happened to be married to Doug Hampton, the senator's top Senate aide. Following the affair, Mr. Enson's mom and dad gave the Hampton family a $96,000 check that they claimed was just a gift. Also, Senator Enson helped Mr. Hampton get a job as a lobbyist, sources telling KLAS in Las Vegas that the federal grand jury is focused on that part of the controversy, on Senator Enson, the husband of Senator Enson's mistress, and others who may have assisted in trying to steer income Mr. Hampton's way. Politico today reported that the National Republican Senatorial Committee was one of the organizations that's been subpoenaed in connection with the Enson scandal. Keep a close eye on that one. Talking Point's memo reports today that Senator Enson's own office just won't say one way or another whether the senator's own offices have also received subpoenas. Anyone thinking the John Enson scandal was over and it was returning to politics as usual, oh no, it's apparently just getting going. The connection to C Street is that not only was John Enson living at the C Street house at the time of his affair with his staffer, which kicked off the ethics scandal that's now being investigated by the FBI, it was also in C Street where ostentatiously pious family values campaigning Republican Senator Tom Coburn of Oklahoma attempted to negotiate a cheaper deal for Senator Enson for a potential cash payout from Enson to his mistress. C Street was also the scene, of course, of negotiations and counseling in South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford's extramarital affair. Governor Sanford went public with his affair just about a week after Senator Enson went forward with his, following the governor's famous 5-day disappearance when he told some of his staff he'd be hiking the Appalachian Trail. Actually, he was having an affair in Argentina. That led to a number of state ethics inquiries, including an impeachment investigation, which led to a formal censure by state lawmakers in South Carolina. But today, Governor Sanford pleaded no contest to 37 charges that he violated ethics laws on campaign spending and travel. Governor Sanford signed a form indicating that he didn't dispute the charges. He agreed to pay $74,000 in fines, and ta-da! He's not stepping down from office. Meanwhile, there are still many unanswered questions about the C Street house itself. Though its connections to the house, C Street house, are well documented, the family has recently denied having anything to do with C Street. When members of Congress who live there write out their rent checks, we still want to know who they're writing those checks to. If they are, as reported, paying well below market rent, who's subsidizing their rent? And if that's happening, that would be a blatant violation of the congressional gift ban. How are they getting away with that? When Melanie Sloan of CREW, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, came on this show last week, she said her organization planned to ask for a congressional investigation into exactly those questions. We talked to the folks at CREW tonight. They say they are working on a formal complaint, and they plan to file that complaint with the House Ethics Committee very, very soon. Joining us now is Reverend Dr. Welton Gaddy. He's a Baptist minister from Louisiana. He's president of the Interfaith Alliance, and he's my friend. Welton, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks, Rachel.
As you know, I like my religion and my politics separate, as do you. You can't go two steps in politics, though, without combining the two of them.
Right.
What do you make of Congressman Stupak on this health reform issue of his, saying that he doesn't listen to nuns, he only listens to bishops when it comes to abortion rights?
Well, it sounds very much like a male authoritarian point of view, doesn't it? I don't know whether this is all about politics or all about religion. Either way, it doesn't work. It's bad politics, it's bad religion. When a man takes upon himself the authority that lets him tell a woman how she can handle her own body, what she can do and do with it, I get very suspicious about the audacity of that man.
Reverend, on the issue of C Street, we have been looking into not only some of the unexplained things and a lot of the secrecy around C Street, but the specific issue of whether or not this religious group is subsidizing the rent for members of Congress. It's an ethics issue, I believe, if that is happening. But there is the larger issue of whether or not C Street should be getting tax exemptions, whether it should be considered a religious organization and get the tax benefits of that. Some pastors in Ohio have challenged that, written to the IRS and asked for an investigation. What's your view on that issue?
Rachel, I'm a little surprised that you identify it basically as a religious institution, because I think most of the people who've heard the stories of C Street now think of it as a political institution. It's interesting to me that all three of these stories that you're focusing on right now come out of the same milieu of mixing religion and politics to the point that politics becomes religion and your religion becomes politics. And when you get in that situation and you put yourself in an insulated, isolated, secretive kinds of conversation, and you talk with each other and you build each other up, you begin to think, we've got the truth and nobody else does. And they better listen to us, and if they don't listen to us, they're making a mistake. We know what's right for this country, and we're going to do whatever we have to do to see that this country does right. And so you can't question our politics. You can't accuse us of being illegal. You can't accuse us of being uncivil. We're doing God's work. We're doing what needs to be done in this nation. And when that happens, then you ultimately begin to think you are above the law, you are above regular standards, and you dare anyone to tell you differently.
Do you think that's why that's the connection between C Street, as you described it, in terms of being a sort of secretive organization, telling people they're above the law, giving them sort of shelter from the law and from humility. We're having that, and this hypocrisy issue. No one, at least I wouldn't be talking about Senator Ensign's extramarital affairs, Governor Sanford's extramarital affairs, had they not campaigned as family values politicians. Right. It's part of how they got the political standing that they've got. And so, therefore, their hypocrisy is a news story. Is that hypocrisy connected to that sort of, I guess, theological arrogance?
Well, it can be.
Yeah.
It may not be. There may be something else going on. I said to Keith Olbermann one night, and he didn't believe I said it, but I thought the governor might have been telling the truth. Maybe he was in love as he had never been in love before. But that's not the point. He could be a good governor and have had an affair. Senator Ensign could be a senator in the same tradition he's been and have had an affair. The problem is, it is not that the affairs caused them the difficulty, it's how they managed that, and they got into illegal actions. But it's the same mentality. I am above your judgment. And it's important for people to understand the two tracks that this has to move on. We're now moving on a track where there is a religious dimension and there is a justice dimension. And in the religious dimension, it is not too late for anybody to be forgiven. I mean, I'm not jumping up and down for joy that these guys are in all that trouble. I don't like their politics, but I don't like to see anybody in that kind of trouble. That is forgivable. But the justice part is a strong track as well. We have a responsibility to prosecute illegality. And just because a person says, oh, I'm more religious than you are, doesn't mean they get a free ride on that. And that's the problem I have with Senator Coburn. That why try to reduce the thing? Why try to work it out? It was an illegal situation. Let's confess it. Get on with whatever the justice judgment is, and let America be America as one that is forgiving of moral failures, but is dead set on seeing justice done.
Reverend Dr. Welton Gaddy, the president of the Interfaith Alliance. I so enjoy talking to you, and it's always great to have you here. Welton, thanks for coming in. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks.